It starts quietly, usually on a Sunday afternoon. The emails are sent. The house is clean. The laundry is folded. The list, that endless, tyrannical list that runs your life, is finally empty. You are technically free. You have hours ahead of you with absolutely nothing to do. This should be the moment of relief. This should be the reward. But instead of peace, you feel a tightening in your chest, a low-grade hum of anxiety that starts in your stomach and works its way up to your throat. You sit on the couch, but your body doesn't settle. Your hand reaches for your phone, scrolling through apps you don't care about, looking for a notification, a problem, a distraction, anything to break the silence. You stand up and walk to the kitchen. You wipe down a counter that is already gleaming. You reorganize a drawer that was already organized. You feel a phantom pressure to earn your existence, to justify the space you take up in the room. You tell yourself, "I'm just productive." You tell yourself, "I'm just high achieving." But deep down, in the quietest part of your mind, you know that is a lie. Ambition is running toward a goal. This is different. This is running away from a feeling. This is a nervous system that has learned a brutal, unspoken truth, that safety equals motion, and that stillness is dangerous. Let's look at what is actually happening beneath the surface. Because this inability to rest, it is not a personality trait, and it is certainly not a virtue. It is a trauma response. Psychologists call this flight mode, but it's a specific kind of flight. Usually, when we think of the flight response, we imagine running away from a predator, a bear, a fire, a tangible threat. But for the high-functioning person, the predator isn't outside, it's inside. The predator is the silence. For you, doing nothing feels like being a sitting duck. Your brain has been wired to believe that as long as you are moving, as long as you are solving, fixing, and achieving, you are safe, you are useful, you are needed, and therefore you are protected. But the moment you stop, the moment you become static, you become vulnerable. Your brain signals a red alert. Get up, do something, produce. Not because there is actual work to be done, but because your nervous system perceives rest as a state of defenselessness. You are living in a state of sympathetic nervous system dominance. Your body is flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, the chemicals of survival. And when you try to relax, when you try to just chill, your body fights you. It feels wrong. It feels like an itch you can't scratch. It feels like you're forgetting something important, even when you're not. You aren't a workaholic. You are a survivor who hasn't realized that the war is over. Where did this start? Because no child is born with a to-do list in their hand. No baby feels guilty for sleeping. This was learned, and usually it was learned early. This goes back to the architecture of your worth. Somewhere along the line, you learned that love was not a gift you received. It was a wage you earned. Think back to your childhood. When were you praised? Were you praised for just being there, for playing, for laughing? Or were you praised for what you did? You're such a good student. You're so helpful. You're so mature for your age. Thank you for not being a burden. You internalized a simple, devastating equation. Value equals output. You learned that your utility was your rent for occupying space in the family. You became the low-maintenance child, the one who didn't have needs, the one who fixed things instead of breaking them. And while that strategy got you praise back then, it is destroying you now. Because if your worth is tied to your productivity, then rest becomes an existential threat. If you stop being useful, do you stop being lovable? If you stop achieving, do you disappear? That is the terror that sits at the bottom of the Sunday afternoon. You feel empty when you're not working, not because you have no hobbies, but because without your function, you fear that you are nothing. But there is another layer to this, a chemical one. If you have spent decades running on high-octane stress hormones, your body has actually become addicted to them. We talk about addiction to substances, but we rarely talk about addiction to our own internal chemistry. Cortisol is a stimulant. It makes you feel alert, alive, and focused. When you are in a crisis, you feel clear, you know what to do. But when peace finally arrives, when the crisis is solved, you don't feel happy, you feel bored. You interpret peace as boredom. You interpret safety as stagnation. You interpret a lack of drama as a lack of passion. So what do? You unconsciously manufacture chaos. You wait until the last minute to do a project, to get the rush. You pick a fight with a partner because the silence feels heavy. You find a new problem to worry about because worrying feels like home. This is why relaxing feels so physically uncomfortable for you. It is literally a withdrawal symptom. Your body is waiting for the next hit of stress, and when you deny it that hit by laying on the couch, it begins to panic. You are trying to be calm, but your blood is looking for a battle. Breaking this cycle is one of the hardest things you will ever do, because it requires you to sit through the withdrawal. It requires you to let yourself feel boring until your nervous system recalibrates to a new normal. And then there is the void. This is the part most people are too afraid to talk about. Work is not just a habit for you, it is an anesthetic. It is the most effective numbing agent in the world. As long as your mind is busy solving a complex problem, it doesn't have to feel pain. As long as you are obsessing over the future, you don't have to look at the past. But when you stop, when the noise of the day finally cuts out, everything you have been outrunning catches up. The grief you never processed, the loneliness you've been managing, the exhaustion you've been denying, the anger you swallowed years ago to keep the peace. They are all there in the quiet. This is why you listen to podcasts while you shower. This is why you need the TV on to fall asleep. This is why you check your emails at dinner. You aren't afraid of missing out on work. You are afraid of being alone in a room with your own thoughts. Resting feels dangerous because it removes the shield. It forces you to sit with your own ghosts without a single task to protect you, and that terrifies you more than burnout ever could. You might think you're getting away with it. You might think that your mind is strong enough to override your biology. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor. I'm tired, but I'm fine. I'm stressed, but I'm handling it. But the body keeps the score. And right now, your body is paying a tax you can't afford. This survival mode isn't free. It shows up as the jaw you clench so hard while you sleep that your teeth ache in the morning. It shows up as the migration of tension into your shoulders that no amount of yoga can release. It shows up in your digestion, your skin, your immune system. You have become brittle. You have forgotten what it feels like to be soft, to be malleable, to be fluid. And in nature, brittle things do not survive the storm. They break. If you do not choose to rest, your body will eventually choose it for you. It will force you to stop through illness, through burnout, through a collapse that you didn't see coming. And that is not a threat. It is a biological promise. So how do we begin to heal this? How do we turn off a motor that has been running for 20 years? It starts by rewriting your definition of rest. For most of your life, you have treated rest as a reward, a prize you get only when the work is done.